Sneakers and Cleats, the podcast.
Welcome back to Sneakers Cleats podcast. It is Thursday, June 26th. This is episode 207. Post-draft podcast where Don Harris just got off a plane from Brooklyn. Don, are you awake? Are you asleep? How you feeling?
Caffeine.
Sponsored by Chick-fil-A.
Is that a
Diet Coke?
Diet Coke.
Diet Coke.
There was a while there where you were off Diet Coke, and now not anymore.
If one is going to be off all bread, all sugar, all sweets, all pasta, all rice, all lasagnas, anything that you can imagine that's good, then
can have Diet Coke.
then one has to have something. And mine is going to be Diet Coke.
That sounds absolutely miserable.
Are you doing that? What do they call it?
It's kind of a keto thing.
Oh,
it's
keto.
the I want to make myself miserable.
It's the Cinco diet. I just made that up. It's 5 things that I can eat: meat, eggs, fish, fruits, and vegetables.
And kale.
That's a vegetable.
That does qualify as a vegetable. Anyway,
I just had it.
Don, good to have you back. You enjoy some pizza at least while you were there? Did you splurge on your diet?
I did. I had a slice of cheese.
Zach and I were sitting here on.
But you know what? I went back to that place because we were there for 3 days. Jack went every day.
Yeah, he loves pizza because he loves pizza.
I like pizza. I love pizza. But I got the slice of cheese the first day. The next day when we went, I got the Caesar salad.
Crazy, man.
And I wanted the pizza.
You crazy, man. Anyway, glad to have you back. We're going to talk a lot of draft today. It's been a busy couple of days in Brooklyn, getting to hear from Dylan Harper and the new Spurs draft picks, Carter Bryant and everybody else. Before we get into all that, remember, subscribe to the YouTube channel, News 4 Fox SA, download, rate, review the podcast version. Helps us out a lot. So like I said, we're going to talk all draft sights, sounds, observations from Don, who was there firsthand, saw everything, had some of the first interviews with Carter Bryant and Dylan Harper from San Antonio Media. So we'll hear from him. Plus, you'll get to hear from both Dylan Harper and Carter Bryant on how stoked they are to be in the Alamo City and donning the silver and black to start their careers at the very least. Plus, Brian Wright talked last night about 11 o'clock or 10:30-ish about how he thinks the first round went, his analysis, and kind of what went into making these picks. Also, he does comment a little bit about answering the phone when people were picking up and calling about number 2. Obviously, he didn't indulge those calls very much. But lastly, we'll take a look ahead to round 2 of the NBA draft tonight, in which the Spurs do not any longer have a pick, even though you'll see at 38 the Spurs are on the clock. That pick is traded to the Pacers, and what the Spurs need to do in free agency.
In that regard.
Are you going to say what I think you're going to say?
Yes.
Let's get to it.
It's so ridiculous. And my son, my son tipped me off to this a year ago. And he's like, Dad, the NBA is so bad compared to the NFL. They don't know how to do a draft.
They don't know how to make trades.
We always get these kids wearing the wrong hat on their biggest night of their lives. Like the NFL, the trade is in, then they make the pick. The NBA, okay, we knew that. When was the Kevin Durant deal done?
Sunday.
We knew Sunday that Phoenix owned the number 10 pick.
Yet it was the Rockets picking.
And the kid wearing the Rockets hat.
Yeah,
it even fooled me for a second.
Yeah, Zach and I had to do a double take last night. I was like, is this the Rockets pick?
How did they get?
Yeah.
And it's like, no, that's Phoenix's pick. So why isn't he wearing a Suns hat? Because the trade doesn't go through until July 6th, and they want to do everything and by the book. It's so maddening. They should learn from their mistakes. They did learn from their mistakes, and they let Ernie, Kenny, and Charles switch networks, right? And so they'll be able to do playoffs, finals, just like CBS uses Ernie, Kenny, and Charles for March Madness. So learn from your mistakes, get the hats right.
I want to credit Scott Van Pelt because he was the one that really made a big deal about this, and he's been making a big deal about it for years. It's so dumb. You're ruining the picture that they're going to have hanging in their house for the next 30 years, them being drafted with the wrong damn hat on.
Yeah. Stupid.
Like, it's just that's such an easy solution. Just get a different freaking hat. Like it seems so easy.
And if you know the trade has gone through, but you don't have to make it
And then but it also bugs me because on the websites, you'll see, you go on to like the list of picks on ESPN and it'll say Rockets pick Wright's traded to Phoenix, but it still has the Rocket logo as like next to the player's name. So it's so confusing. And then you have things listed like the Rockets are picking at 16. I'm just making this up. Rockets picking at 16, pick via Houston or pick via Phoenix and New Orleans and San Antonio and Brooklyn. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Kobe Bryant was drafted by the Charlotte Hornets.
Yeah. And he's wearing a Charlotte Hornets hat. We've had this problem forever and it makes no sense why they can't just fix it.
So stupid.
Anyway, we'll get off our soapbox here for a second.
Wait, so why do they do it? Like,
because the trade doesn't, in theory, go through till July 6th. So technically, the Rockets drafted Kaman Malawach.
Kevin Durant is still a Sun.
Technically,
today.
until the 6th. The league year starts on the 6th.
Well, why do they have to wait?
Because the league year doesn't happen until the 6th. So technically, this is all last season.
So have the draft after the 6th.
Yeah. But they can't do that because it's such a condensed timeline. They need to get summer league in. They need to do all these things.
Agency.
But I mean, July 6th is just a date. Why can't they? Like, what difference does it make?
Let me get you on the phone with Adam Silver, and he'll explain it to you.
All right.
Anyway, so let's get to the draft here. Dylan Harper taking number 2, the worst kept secret in the NBA draft, besides who was going number 1, was who was going number 2.
Although on Spurs Twitter for the last 3 weeks, every trade scenario was floated that was possible. And Matt, you'll back me up on this. I told them all for weeks. They're taking Dylan Harper. Stop it. Right?
Yeah, it didn't stop.
No, it didn't stop.
Before we get to the pick itself, Don, I want your overall thoughts on media day, on kind of the lead up to the draft. Just give me sight sounds, kind of empty the notebook since you were there in person and kind of saw everything going on.
Well, my favorite new player is Cedric Coward, who went in the top 10.
You mean Colin Cowherd that got drafted at number 11?
No. He went 11th. It was 11.
I think it was 11.
Yeah. I thought the Spurs might have a shot at him at 14. This kid is unbelievable. He's from Fresno, California. He is incredibly verbose, funny, intellectual, down to earth, engaging. He's
sounds like his Tinder profile.
He's like a Barkley. He's like a little Barkley when Barkley was a player. He's honest. He's going to be a fascinating player. I don't know if he's going to be good, but he was one of the most enjoyable people that I talked to. So was Con Kneppel.
I really enjoyed talking to him at the Final Four too. He's a very engaging,
very
young man.
mature kid for 19.
I just said engaging young man. I'm your age now.
And you know what I
That's
said?
why
I said, because I had heard that Cooper Flagg entertained the idea of returning to Duke for his sophomore year. Although if you look at his salary timeline with his supermaxes, if he gets all the right extensions, he'll make $930 million.
Yeah, but by the time he turns 31.
He's 31.
By the time he turns 31, in his first 13 years in the league, he'll make $900 million.
Yes.
If everything goes according to plan.
Right. And so I asked Con that. I said, did you, Cooper and Malawach, the 3 freshmen, ever give consideration to running it back at Duke? And he goes, no.
I know. I saw that question. I was like, yeah, that's.
Well, I preface it by saying, I know it's unthinkable, but, and I know for a fact that Cooper Flagg had conversations with John Shire about returning to Duke. And that Shire advised him, no, I can't let you do that.
So when you were going through and getting the interviews and all that stuff, and you go through media day, was there ever a sense of controversy that people wanted there to be at 1 and 2, or was it always just?
No. It was as clear as Wemby going number 1.
I saw you talk to Jay Billis before the draft. Tell me a little bit about what Jay thought of Dylan Harper before we get into Dylan Harper and the pick and hearing from him.
Loves him. It's, Jay does his homework. Everybody's seen this kid since he's 16, 17.
Jay Billis is one of the best analysts in the business for sure.
And knows NBA game and college game. I don't think he said there's a weakness. He said shooting is not his lead story, was his quote, but not a weakness. He'll but that he's incredibly strong. When he gets bumped, he's really good at getting back on balance and finishing at the rim. That reminded me, he didn't say this, but it reminded me of Tony Parker. Tony Parker didn't miss when he got to the rim. Like, he made great drives. Like, that's one of Steph Castle's things to improve on. Steph Castle gets to the rim a lot and then would miss close to the rim when he doesn't dunk it. And that's not a criticism of Steph Castle. That's just, it's impossible to make every shot. I mean, if you shoot 50%, you're doing really good. Tony Parker always finished at the rim, no matter how hard the layup was. And Dylan Harper is that kind of kid with both hands, left and right. He splits double teams incredibly, behind the back dribbles, crossover dribbles, between the legs dribbles. He really breaks down, splits double teams and goes downhill to the rim. Incredible maturity for a kid his age. Incredible length and wingspan, and the ability to already be a good defender, but also grow into a better defender.
I think it goes without saying that the Spurs, that this was the pick that was going to be made. No matter who was picking it too, Dylan Harper was going to be the second pick in this draft, it seems like.
And there was never a question of who was going to be picking number 2.
Yeah. It seems like unless someone came with some insanely outlandish Tyrese Maxey plus number 3 plus 5 more first-round picks, something like that, then you could have pried 2 away. But it seems like it was going to be Dylan Harper, and then we'll figure everything else later.
Look,
hold on one second.
Okay.
Let's hear from your interview with Dylan Harper first, and then we'll talk about it.
To walk in that stage just now, hearing my name being called as a San Antonio Spurs was probably the best thing I've heard ever.
Now, you've been to San Antonio, and we have been talking nonstop about you for the last 3 weeks. I've heard everybody compare you to Cade Cunningham or SGA or James Harden. In San Antonio, I think you're a cross between Manu Ginobili and Tony Parker.
I like that.
Who would you compare your game to?
I mean, definitely, as a Spur, definitely them two. I think from the playmaking to the lefty and just finding ways to get to the basket and get a bucket no matter what. And then Tony Parker's playmaking, how he gets off the ball and makes his teammates better. But definitely, like you just say, Cade, James Harden, SGA, a little bit of Brunson, just big guards, know how to get to their spots, and they know when to get off the ball, when not to get off the ball. And they know when the scoring is, the main thing they do is try to win.
Man, we loved Steph Castle a year ago. You got him, you got De'Aaron Fox. The three of you, it seems like the possibilities are endless.
Definitely. I mean, I'm playing with 2 great guards. We're going to make each other better every day, and just from a standpoint of playing off each other, spacing the floor, I was just going to make the game easier for everyone.
All right, I do have one problem with you, though.
What happened?
What's this with this bagel and egg and bacon
Big egg and
being
cheese?
better than a breakfast taco?
It is. I mean, I got to stay home to my Jersey roots.
Okay.
Big egg and cheese with a hash brown on it. Definitely better than a breakfast taco. But a breakfast taco is really good. It's like right there. But just I got to keep it home.
Maybe after a few months in San Antonio,
maybe
you
after
change
I
your
eat
mind.
it all the time.
Okay.
My favorite part of that was at the end. Okay.
Hash brown on it might change things.
I gotta admit, it sounds delightful. I love a bacon, egg, and cheese breakfast sandwich. I'm a breakfast burrito kind of guy.
Well,
the first time I ever had a breakfast taco was here in San Antonio, in California. We're breakfast burrito people.
The thing that's going
Burrito.
in his defense.
Oh, stop it.
In his defense,
Burritos are better.
The thing that San Antonians who are so breakfast taco pro in this argument that you're not considering is it's a New York bagel. And I can tell you, it's a different bagel.
As someone who had a New York style bagel today, I went to Max and Louis, New York Diner. They do a great job over there. As someone who had one today, it's pretty hard to beat. I mean,
yeah, but a hash brown, bacon, egg, and cheese, and hash browns all on the bagel. I don't know.
It sounds great.
I can't eat that stuff anymore.
All right. Well, anyway, I think if he goes to the original taco shop or the original donut shop and gets himself some breakfast tacos, he'll switch over. We'll learn him. We'll learn him up. He's fine.
But you know what was telling in all seriousness about that is when I brought up the fact that he's a cross between Manu and Tony. You got to remember he's just 19. Like he's 18 years old.
He's 2005.
Right. He's born in 2005. So Manu's been retired what?
I'm 10 years older than him. That's wild.
Manu's been retired 8 years. So he was 10 years old when Manu retired, and he immediately went to left-handed. He knew that Manu was left-handed.
Mm-hmm.
He's got the background of knowing basketball.
Ron Harper, his dad, is
I
a
know.
5-time NBA champion.
I know, it's refreshing because
it's been around him his whole life.
a lot of these kids don't know who Manu Ginobili is.
Well, they should watch or read a book.
I know.
Watch
So it was
Ring of Rowell or
refreshing.
something.
Hey, just to back up for a second, on the website, we broke down the bagel sandwich versus the breakfast taco with pros and cons, bullet points for each, just to really get into the breakfast battle.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, did you? I thought you had a further point to say.
No, I just want everyone to know.
If
you really want to break it down and see what the positives are for each and what the negatives are for
News4SanAntonio.com, Fox.
This seems eerily similar to breaking it down the Austin breakfast taco versus the San Antonio breakfast taco.
Yeah, pretty much. Anyway, so what were your impressions of him just as a young man, as a dude, as a person, getting to speak with him a little bit, seeing his interactions all week long, seeing his interaction with Adam Silver up there, seeing what he said, and hearing what he said at the podium? What, just break down for me the feeling you got from Dylan Harper, the person.
I got the feeling that he is a what's the word? Tiger Woods like creation of a professional basketball player. He was raised to do this. He's been prepared for this his entire life. He's incredibly mature and well-spoken as far as interview ready and all that kind of stuff for a 19-year-old kid. His basketball, he's further ahead right now than Steph Castle was a year ago. And wow. I don't know that he's going to be as good as Steph Castle in his rookie year, but at this exact same stage, I would bet every team in the NBA would have taken Dylan Harper over Steph Castle if they were in the same draft.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
And so if you know Steph Castle and that's the bar and that's the expectation, then I think San Antonio Spurs fans can almost be guaranteed that this kid's going to be a very, very good player, if not a great player. I think he has all-star potential. Okay, get this. McDonald's All-American, National High School Player of the Year as a junior, ahead of Cooper Flagg, USA Select Team. I mean, he is a blue blood all the way through. And you hear Rutgers and you go, but he had Duke, he had Kansas, he had all the big boys. He decided to stay at home because he knew he was only going to be there 1 year and he wanted to be loyal to the school that his brother went to.
Let me ask you one question, because this is where everyone is going with Ace Bailey and with Dylan Harper not winning at Rutgers. When you have 2 top 5 draft picks, Ace Bailey ended up going 5 to Utah, even though he didn't want to go there. So props to Austin Ainge and Danny Ainge for actually pulling up and taking Ace Bailey, even though he didn't want to go. Why didn't Rutgers win more with 2 of the top 5 picks in this draft?
They're Rutgers.
Was it more coaching or was it more the players?
Okay. Well, it's 2. Just because you have a great player doesn't mean you have a good team. It's Rutgers, right? So you can't compare that to what Dylan did. Plus, Dylan had got a real bad case of the flu. He missed almost a month. Then he had a really high ankle sprain, and he just wasn't really healthy all season. But you look at what he put up. He put up, 20 or more in like most of the games.
I mean, he was phenomenal in the Michigan game too.
His numbers, I don't have them in front of me, but for as bad as they were bad. They were about 500.
Rutgers has made the tournament 1 time in the past 34 years. They're not a great team, but when you surface level look at it, and they have 2 of the top 5 picks in the 2025 NBA
That's your
draft.
Initial question is why weren't they better?
Yeah, why didn't they make the tournament? Why didn't they barely made the Big Ten tournament?
They're freshmen. That's 1.
Okay, well, so we're
and
the
all their
Fab Five.
teammates were horrible. That's 2.
He's playing with accountants.
Yeah.
Let's hear from Brian Wright. And last night, after he talks a little bit about all the offers that and kind of the lead up to Dylan Harper, and then talks about why he likes Dylan Harper too.
I think at this time of year, you have to go through a process, right? Like you have to answer the phone. But I think early on, we knew kind of what we wanted to do and the potential of, the player there. So, we listened to things as it came in, but I think we were pretty locked in. He's got a rare confidence with humility. He's a very down-to-earth, simple kid, loves basketball. And after spending time with him throughout the process, you can tell that he knows he's a good basketball player, but he wants to be part of a group. He wants to be part of a team. He's willing to sacrifice. He's willing to work for it. And the more we spent time with him, the more we felt confident in that. And again, you talk to a lot of people around the kids, these young men, to try to get an understanding of who they are and, you know, what they're about. And he really confirmed that for us when we spent time with them.
I liked hearing that, because that second part of that was the answer to my question to him, which was, while you're going through this process, what surprised you about him? And that was his answer to that question, which is the competitiveness, and that he really just loves basketball to the extent that he does. Talking about the first part of that answer, where calls were coming in and we were picking up the phone, but we weren't really interested in making those trades, does that tell you more that the trades offers sucked, or that the Spurs were so sold on Dylan Harper that it would have taken the Lakers trading the entire franchise, for example, to the Spurs for Dylan Harper? What does that tell you more?
Like, I think the Spurs were intrigued by the thought of Giannis, the thought of Kevin Durant,
Kristaps.
They were really in on that one. I can talk about that in a little bit. But it was always going to be at what cost. And what teams would do when they called the Spurs is they would start with number 2 or Castle, one or the other. And the Spurs screamed into the phone until they were blue in the face. Neither are on the table ever. What else? What else can we do to be involved in these talks? It's why Durant broke down. It's why Giannis broke down. Porzingis was never in that. People finally got.
He wasn't in that echelon. Yeah.
Right. But they weren't.
Porzingis was traded for the change in between.
They got a lot of other assets. They got a lot of picks. They got a lot of other players. But those two were not on the table ever.
And so you think that it says more that they didn't make a move. It says more about their love of Dylan Harper than the validity of the offers.
That's right.
Gotcha.
This is a guy who could. Let's think about draft history, right? You're talking about the LeBron draft, where LeBron went 1 and Melo went 2 and Wade went 5.
Wade went 5, Bosh went 4, I believe.
Yeah. So
Darko Milicic sandwiched in between there.
You're thinking that this kid could be Dwayne Wade, right? He could be, huh?
God, I hope so.
Yeah. Dwayne Wade's a great player. Hall of Famer.
Second favorite player of all time. So
why would you consider giving that up for a 32-year-old Giannis? Especially with the window of when Wemby's going to want to win.
There's also the question of, and everybody talked about this before the draft, and we're going to talk about it until we see all these guys on the court together, of fit. And you talk to Jay Billis, not concerned about fit. You talk to Peter Holt, not concerned about fit. You talk to Brian Wright, who we're going to hear from right now, not concerned about fit. So let's hear from Brian Wright, and we'll talk about that in a second.
Positions in this day and age don't matter as much. We just saw playoffs where the team that won had a 6'5" wing that guarded the center, right? And you start to put offensive skill sets together, and having multiple ball handlers, multiple people that can create, multiple people that can put pressure on the rim and make life easier for other players on the floor. I think that's an advantage, and I think we can do that for all 48 minutes. And so I'm not as concerned about positional overlap and trying to find skills and people that can put us in advantage situations and be able to play off that, and he can definitely do that.
It makes a lot of sense that we're in a positionless basketball kind of world right now. What doesn't make sense is I'm just trying to think of starting lineups. And are you going to put Dylan at the 3 if he starts, or is he going to be coming off the bench all year?
The key to that soundbite is when he says for all 48 minutes. That means one of those 3 will probably be a sub and run the second team, much like Manu did.
You would have to think that it's either Dylan or Steph. You're probably not going to bench De'Aaron Fox.
De'Aaron Fox will be your starting point guard for sure.
How do they fit so well together, though? You have a bunch of shot creators and not a bunch of shot makers at this point. Dylan Harper, Steph. They're all great. Dylan Harper, Steph Castle, De'Aaron Fox, Devin Vassell, all very good players. but none of them are that spot up 3-point shooter that can drive and kick.
Correct.
So that's where the fit starts to come into question, because you have a lot of guys that are great at dribbling and kicking, a lot of guys that are great at breaking down double teams, a lot of guys that are great at lobbing it up to Wemby. Right now, you only have one Wemby, and you don't have a lot
of guys that are good at throwing the ball to Wemby. We've been waiting for somebody to come do that for years.
Well, we
finally got one with De'Aaron Fox.
You got 3 now.
Yes,
that's what I'm saying.
That just happened.
But you have 3. You basically have 3 of the same player.
Okay, so if you had 2 of the same player, wouldn't you be happy that you had a great point guard, a great backup point guard?
Yeah.
Okay, so now you have, let's say you have Fox starting and you bring Harper off the bench. And so when you lose Fox, you get Harper and you don't lose much, assuming he's the player we think he's going to be. So in the 2, you start Castle. You need, when he goes to the bench, or you can play a 3-guard rotation. That doesn't mean that you don't have those 3. You just have to still add, and I think they might have in Bryant, shooting and another shooter and another big.
But projecting forward, you're going to have De'Aaron Fox when he signs this max contract in next month or August. When he signs the max contract, you're not going to have Dylan Harper coming off the bench for 4 years.
No.
You're not going to have, hopefully, you're not going to have Steph Castle coming off the bench for 4 years. Eventually, they're going to have to try a lineup that's De'Aaron Fox, Steph Castle, Dylan Harper.
So
who goes to your 4? Harrison, and then you bring Dev off the bench?
No, they're not going to be here.
All right.
They're not going to be here. Harrison Barnes is going to retire after this year.
Right now, it looks like there's a bunch of guys who have the exact same frame and kind of role. And yes, it creates a whole bunch of versatility. It creates a whole lot of ease when it comes to switching players on defense and that stuff. But it does create a logjam. There's only so many minutes to so many guys.
No question, and I've said this for 2 years. Devin Vassell, in my mind, is a very good player who you trade for a very good player at a different position. Equal talent, equal money, different positions. Trade him for a 6'10", 245 big, or trade him for a Kevin Horter, who's the guy in Memphis, kid from Duke.
Luke Kennard.
Luke Kennard. Trade Devin Vassell for a Luke Kennard sniper, for a Con Kneppel sniper, for a Dalton Knepp.
They're not going to do that, though.
Who's not going to?
The Spurs.
Why not?
Because they value I think they value Devin more than we do.
Okay.
A player on the rise still.
He's been.
What makes you think that?
He's been on
because he's on the books for 4 more years at $25 million a year.
That's not because they value him. That's because other teams don't in these trade talks. How if they value him so much, why isn't his name been in every deal that they've been in talks with instead of Castle or Fox or Wemby?
You can value someone.
Harper?
You can value someone without valuing them as much as other guys.
Yeah, I don't.
If you were thinking about who do the Spurs value on their roster the most, you know the top 4, and I would argue Devin and Jeremy are right next to that. 5 and 6.
They're okay, 5 and 6. But in the Porzingis deal,
yeah, let's just talk about that. So there was rumors that the Spurs were actively seeking a trade for Kristaps Porzingis, or were in on the Kristaps Porzingis sweepstakes. You tweeted out that was very much true.
At one point in the day, the Spurs were the leader on that day, Wednesday.
No, I think it was Tuesday.
Tuesday, at one point in the day, the Spurs were the leader in the clubhouse.
What happened?
For Porzingis, as has happened in every deal, including the Houston deal with Kevin Durant. The teams that Boston, in this case, valued the assets of another team's offer more than they valued the Spurs assets, because the other team put in
hold on
more.
What were the Spurs offering? Loose change in the pillow? Like the Celtics didn't get much for Kristaps Porzingis.
And I don't know exactly what the Spurs offered, but whatever it was.
Would they offer Malachi Branham in a second?
No. It was bested by, I'm sure Barnes had to be in the deal. And I don't think the Spurs would have given up a first, but it was probably trade draft considerations.
That certainly would have been a heck of a move in a Twin Towers of epic proportions, having Wemby and Kristaps.
Well, he's on a 1-year expiring $30 million deal.
Yeah.
And so if you trade Harrison Barnes and Malachi Branham, for example, and no picks or a second rounder, and he doesn't work out after 1 year, $30 million, you don't lose anything.
Right. Let's talk about Carter Bryant here. So number 14 is Carter Bryant, the 6'7", 6'8", maybe with shoes on, wing out of U of A. Great player, except he went to the wrong Arizona school, obviously. Forks up. Sorry, Sean Elliott. Bear down is dumb. Extremely rangy, three-point shooter. But their thing is bear down, and they're the Wildcats. How does that make any freaking sense? Extremely rangy, 3-and-D kind of player. What do the Spurs see in him? Because I know that Brian Wright was very happy that he was there at 14. Extremely happy that he was there, and he said as much. Actually, before we talk about
all the mocks, he was going 9-10.
Yeah, let's talk. Let's hear from Brian Wright about the surprise that Carter was still there at 14.
Yeah, a little surprised. We had not at number 2.
Right.
But we had Carter pretty high on our board. And actually tried, made some moves to potentially go and get him. And so to get him at 14 was a pleasant surprise for us tonight. I think he's super versatile. He's a big wing that I think we think can guard 4 positions. He spaces the floor well. He's a really good athlete. I think he's a smart young kid, and I think he's got the right character and makeup that we look for. So I think we're excited that he was there. And again, a little surprised, but we think he adds a new dimension to this team going forward.
I can't believe I just put highlights of him making threes against ASU on that. That's real jerk move by me into my school. Anyway, what does that say about how they value Carter Bryant?
Well, they're looking for shooting, right? And they're not looking to address a need.
But also looking for defensive versatility. I mean, 6'7", long kid that can defend
really
4
long
positions.
arms, loves to play defense. So as soon as they took him, I texted Sean Elliott last night and said, "What are they getting, Arizona Wildcat?" Sean says, he's a project in the sense that he doesn't have a huge body of work. Just a few games as a freshman at U of A, averaged only about 6.5 points a game, but they didn't use him a ton. And Sean said he is super athletic, can jump to the moon, and he can really shoot it. And he said, I think he's going to be a really good pro. Now you watch his film and he looks like the shooter they want, that they don't have. And I think he's their long-term solution at 3 if he pans out. And they continue to look for shooting. And so they took the best player available. They weren't looking to fill a need. They took the best player available, and he was there because they thought it was going to flip-flop. They thought Coward would be there for them at 14 maybe, but certainly not Bryant. And Bryant on their board was ranked higher.
Let's hear your conversation with Carter Bryant after he got drafted and after he did his press conference.
How did it feel to have your name called by the San Antonio Spurs?
I mean, it felt amazing. Not many people get the opportunity to even hear their name called, but to have it from an organization like this, I mean, you've seen top to bottom, they're elite. Just the preparation and the perfection that they want to achieve is something that's beautiful. So I think for me, walking into a situation like this is great for me, and I'm ready to do big things with the franchise.
Tell us what we should expect from your game. I hear 3-and-D wing. I hear can shoot it from range, and especially defense.
I mean, like you said, 3-and-D guy, but also understanding what my role can be one day. I believe that, I mean, I'm just a guy that's willing to win, to do anything to win, whether that's diving on the floor for loose balls or whatever I want to do on the floor is just to go towards winning. So I think that's the biggest goal for me.
Would that be great? It turns out to be like their Lou Dort.
Well, Lou Dort, ASU. So I don't know. I don't know if he can really live up to Sun Devil name, but Bob, you got anything from anybody watching this stream?
The Medicare guys, Texas, say
Medicare guys, Texas.
I don't understand it.
All right.
Vassell will and should be moved. Great draft. Go Spurs go. And just another one I wanted to read from David Rocha. Why does Don always look annoyed with you?
He often is.
With Bob or Matt?
Me.
I don't know. He doesn't say. He says you.
I'm gonna guess me.
That's because I'm old and grumpy.
I
love Matt.
He's got an RBF.
I'm not annoyed with Matt.
He's got an
I tell you,
RAF, resting annoyed face.
No, you know why? You know why? Why I look annoyed? I'm not annoyed.
Because you're cold.
I look annoyed because Matt and Cyber Bob are in cahoots in that they ask questions and talk about subjects that they know
get you fired
are
up.
Great topics of discussion, and I know are pointless to discuss because we know what the answer is, but it's still fun to talk about them.
Do you want me to get you the dictionary definition of what a podcast host does?
No, I know.
Remember, Don had a radio show for years.
I know, and I hated it. Right? So, yes.
Hi, I'm Matt. Nice to meet you.
Would the Spurs move to Austin if they don't get an arena built?
Okay, I didn't ask that.
Oh,
kill me.
Jacob Romo says the guy on the right is so annoying.
Me?
I don't know which right.
No, if you're looking at the screen, it would be me. But hey, man,
you're annoying. Okay.
Well, actually, keep it in that screen. It's
He's
Bob.
not annoying.
It's me now.
Yeah, keep it in the double screen, and it's Bob.
I agree.
I'm annoying. It's fine.
Wait a minute. Tom Guerrero is in the house.
Shout out Tom G.
He said, "Hello, boys. It's age time.
Hello, boys.
Get off my lawn."
Yeah, I know. This should be called the Get Off My Lawn podcast.
Okay. You and Chuck could have a whole nother one all to yourselves.
Hey, I'm 75, but Chuck's 100.
Both the same amount of hair. So on Monday we had the hair podcast. Me and Zach, both great heads of lettuce.
Yeah.
For
now.
Yeah. There was a San Antonio. Getting back to the conversation,
I had great hair when I was 25.
Did you?
There was a San Antonio media pundit who I'll just leave unnamed.
Sorry.
That said, when Carter was drafted, great, another project, have fun in Austin for more or less is what he said.
He's an idiot.
He's not going to Austin. For the sense that I get is that Carter is here to be on the 15-man roster and staying in San Antonio. He's not a G League project. He's not a CD Sissoko.
Correct. Like these guys are a different breed than Branham, Wesley, Sissoko,
Riley Minix.
Hey, you know what? I still have this much hope that Riley Minix can still turn out to be the Spurs Luke Kennard. I believe in that kid.
All right. Well, that's a podcast for another day.
I believe in that kid.
So my real question here is you have KJ, Jeremy, Devin, Carter, Harper, Steph, and Barnes, all wing players. Right now on the roster, they have Wemby, and I don't believe they have what's his name?
They have the Mamu.
Yeah, no, he's a free agent.
They're going to bring him back.
So they don't have what's his name? The guy that filled in once Wemby got hurt. Why am I forgetting
Collins?
His name? No, he's gone.
Bassey.
African American dude. Yeah, Bassey's still on the roster. The other guy though started. Why am I forgetting his name? I want to say Dikembe Mutombo, but that's not it. What's his name?
Who?
The kid, the dude that was in Phoenix beforehand, that they brought in like right after Wemby got hurt and when Bassey was hurt.
Yeah.
You know exactly who I'm talking about.
Oh, this is bad.
Yeah, not Georgie Dang.
No. All right, I'm going to keep going. They have him. He's not on the roster
I can
anymore.
see him too.
I can picture his face.
Yeah.
I just can't think of his name.
Bismack
Biyombo. Thank you. Good Lord, I couldn't come up with his name.
Bismarck, North Dakota.
So anyway, you don't have
shout out to the comments. They were helping us out there.
Thank you. I appreciate the comments, guys. I was struggling there for a second.
I have an excuse. You don't. Age.
My excuse is that I am forgetful.
Who played well, by the way.
He did. But you look at the roster, and right now it's very point guard and 1, 2, 3, and 5.
Yeah, they have
heavy.
A lot of additions.
They have a lot of additions that they need to make. Now that we're looking at free agency now, what? Because they don't have a pick tonight, and because they traded that yesterday.
Bigs and shooters.
Is that what you expect?
Bigs and shooters. They'll add one through free agency. They'll add another through a trade or two. They have not gotten started. And if they have, they're in big trouble.
I would expect a lot of movement from them on the free agency.
They have to. Yabusele's been mentioned. He's kind of a Malik Rose.
He's a 4-3-4 kind of guy.
He's a short 4.
Yeah.
But he's a 4. And he dunked on LeBron in the Olympics. That was impressive.
It was. And he played well for the Sixers last year.
Yeah. I like him.
I would love for them.
Anybody with physicality that can guard the 5 that can give some pressure off Wemby on defense.
I would love for the Spurs to sign Brook Lopez.
A lot of people are bringing up that name. He might be too expensive, but if they were interested in Porzingis, which they were, then they would probably be interested in Lopez. He does give you that ability to play defense and guard the 5 so that Wemby doesn't have to.
Well, he's an all-NBA defender.
And extend the defense by being able to stretch 5 and shoot the 3.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that you can look at the Spurs draft this year and say they missed on this is that they didn't take care of either of their needs, which is shooting and center.
And that's
shooting and size.
But again, Bobby Marks, the ESPN former GM draft guru, said this is not the NFL. If you're in the NFL and you have 2 good quarterbacks, you don't need another quarterback. In the NBA, if you draft Clyde Drexler in 1983, like the Portland Trailblazers did, and 1984, you already have your 2 guard in Clyde Drexler, and Michael Jordan is on the board, you don't take Sam Bowie and pass on Michael Jordan. You take Michael Jordan and make it work later.
Speaking of which, the Trailblazers drafted Donovan Clingan last year and then drafted another center at 16 this year.
How about the Suns?
Yeah, the Suns traded for Mark Williams and then drafted Kaman Malawach moments later.
Yeah, those are the 2 biggest guys in the NBA now.
Yeah, I was thinking.
Which, by the way, that means Nurkic
is open.
I'd take him on the Spurs.
Well, yeah, the Suns have 5 guards and 4 centers on their team right now.
I would take Nurkic.
Question in the comments is about Clint Capella. What about him?
Yeah, he's good. He makes too much money, I think, for what the Spurs want to pay.
I could see them doing Capella, though, because you need somebody that can push Wemby out to the 4.
Yeah.
And because Wemby can't play the 5 all the time. He's going to get not abused, but he's going to
they want him to
get
play the 4, especially on defense.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you need him to be able to free flow and space out the floor and all that stuff. So having a 5, a true center, and Isaiah Hartenstein, for example, with Chet moving out, you need that to – also, you need that for your lineup versatility. You saw in the finals, when the Thunder got to the finals, they took Isaiah Hartenstein out and put in Cason Wallace. It worked. It didn't work a little bit, but they had that ability because of the depth of their team.
It's almost as if you need 3 really good guards in that situation.
Oh, shut up. On that note, give me a grade for the Spurs draft.
Solid A.
Yeah, I'd say A- only because I do wish they traded up for Kaman Malawach or that sort of center instead of Carter Bryant. But because of the need aspect of it, and I love Malawach. He's one of my favorite prospects in this entire draft. But Carter Bryant went to the solid. And if Carter Bryant went to ASU,
you got a 14 pick. You got a number in 8, 9, 10 value at 14.
Yeah, the way I look at that is if the Spurs didn't get number 2 and they ended up drafting 8 and 14, that Carter Bryant could have been their pick at 8.
Yes.
So that's the way I kind of look at it. They got a little bit of value with getting him at
very
14.
much so.
All right, that's all we got for you today. I'm sorry I'm annoying.
You're not. I'm sorry I'm grumpy.
Remember, download, rate, review, subscribe, give us a 5-star rating.
Did I tell you that I got an hour of sleep last night? Does that?
You got 3 hours on the plane.
That
you also
count.
had to sit, but
plane
also
sleep does not count.
Also, he had to sit next to the grumpiest of all people, Jack Green.
No, I did. Jack and I sit 6 or 7 rows apart.
Oh, yeah. I heard you left him.
That sounds just like flight. Jack Green.
Always. On the plane.
That's all we got for you today. Subscribe, rate, review, us a 5-star rating. Tell a friend, tell an enemy. We'll be back on Monday with more as free agency is getting underway. We'll see you then.